Hey guys, it's Logan. As you all know, I'm in this thing called school, which kind of feels like it's been taking my energy more and more these days. In my 3 years of majoring in animation, I think I've learned more life lessons and maybe some rigging here and there. One thing there is to note, it's tough out there, and you might never be ready, but at least you can hear this early. Here's everything I learned in animation school. Number 1, you have a big storm coming. I don't want to sound dramatic or scare anyone, so hear me out. Right now, the industry is kind of flailing and so incredibly uncertain. It could be my imposter syndrome, but the 6 million layoffs have been a topic of discussion in my classes for 3 years. But to make things lighter, it seems to only take a certain niche of demo reel content for some to be more quote-unquote prepared for entry level than others. From what I know, any type of game animation can really fool a bigger studio. Be warned, I've seen plenty of industry veterans working for these major studios get zapped in a second. The lack of security can really throw some people off, but you shouldn't worry too much, as a gig will find you eventually. Number 2, IK arms are only a sin if they're noticeable. One of my teachers would call us out for IK sins if it looked like our model's arms were an IK. I had a hard time pinpointing specific things because my brain doesn't take notes for this, but I know one thing. Having your model's arms move in IK is not only kind of tacky, but it's only necessary for certain movements, like when an object's in hand or they're holding things with 2 arms. However, every model I've made in Blender has stubby arms, which only move in IK. I wouldn't say that it's noticeable, but it just shows that it depends on the model. Honestly, I didn't even realize it until literally just now. Number 3, know exactly what you want to do. So unlike everyone else, my expectation of animating included having a finished video at the end. Usually animation is divided into tech, which is lighting, texturing, modeling, and rigging, and character animation, which is just animating a character. When I first signed up, I wasn't sure how to align the two, since I love modeling and animating can be fun at times. In fact, this album cover literally inspired my love for modeling and the projects that came after it. Unfortunately, because I chose character animation as my concentration, I was never able to expand on my fascination. Know exactly what you want to do. These institutions will not walk you through the right path for your interests. They just label you for one skill, and your entire degree will be based off that. We only get 3 electives, and I got a little bit lost choosing the right ones. So I'll never know if doing tech would have helped me find my full potential.
Number 4. Learn when to block and when not to. Trust me, it's perfectly fine to not need to block and just go for it. Some people have asked me, you go straight to spline? But what I like to call it is raw dogging. Forget spline and polishing, just go for it. This is the technique I've used since the 8th grade. That might be a bit obvious, honestly. It's very simple, just keyframe a pose. Think of it as if you were going to animate something for the very first time. For some reason, no one in my classes do this, and they go straight to blocking for even the simplest of movements. You need to block for an animal walk cycle, not exactly for picking up a simple object. It's okay to ease into things as you go instead of rigid poses. I ended up finishing 6 to 10 shots for a video quicker than the rest of the 3D anim team, because some of the shots needed a simple raw dogging. It's funny when I say it. Number 5, take your skills elsewhere. If you love compositing in Unreal Engine, you're gonna love VFX. Luckily for you, this is a sought-out skill, not just in animation, but for film, TV, and any piece of media. This is mainly about job security, but whether it's a basic simulation or compositing models, there will always be a need for someone with at least some of this expertise. If someone you know needs help on an XR stage, you might even be able to see your work on a giant screen. Freelance can really be fun, especially if you have a niche. Honestly, I might even try it out. Number 6, expand your research. Of course, this could just be me being naive, but I've noticed that the scarce amount of technique in other software has come back to bite in my experience. Basically what I mean is while producing films, it got stressful just like that because of the lack of willingness to try other techniques. Let me give you an example. During pre-production for a video I had to do, I offered a solution of making the final animations and scenes in another software for the render. since basic tune shading was a little bit less stressful? The obvious answer was no, and I had a bit of trust as I didn't think our pipeline was going to have a lot of cramming. Of course I was wrong. The team ended up staying in one dark room for 48 hours using Arnold Renderer. It was then I realized that because we've been encouraged to only use industry standard tools, that sitting in front of a screen for literal days without any sleep or food had become a norm. The workflow took so long because they didn't want to use anything else. Please do not limit yourself to one tool, as it can really cost you in these types of situations. I have a Blender tutorial that's very short and can help you, as the lack of learning curve is so refreshing compared to this other stuff.
Number 7, save your work frequently and use proper naming conventions. This is a constant problem I've always had, where I name my files a bunch of random junk and end up deleting something I need accidentally. Don't be like me. A simple title of what your file is can be good enough, and you'll remember exactly what it is when opening it up next time. If you decide to work in a studio professionally, naming conventions start getting extremely serious, as a simple error can ruin the entire workflow. Maya can't even load an image sequence if the frame numbers are incorrect. Saving your work after making a few changes is good when your software suddenly crashes, because, trust me, it will. After Effects literally crashed 6 times in one day while I was making a simple edit. Don't rage too hard and destroy your computer either. Number 8, it's okay to do multiple things. I've been hearing amongst my peers the term jack of all trades, master of none, and how it distracts a person from having one great skill, at least in animation. If someone says this, it just means they only do one thing. Because of that, post-production can actually get dumped on one person just because they're the only person who knows how to use a certain renderer or composite. See the problem here? If you like modeling, rigging, and combining that with your animations, then do it. If you don't like lighting, but love using Niagara for simulations, there's nothing wrong with this. Create with the skills you know. Combine the areas together, and you never know when someone might be asking you to make the impossible possible. Number 9, practice or animate outside of school. The simple task of just animating outside of school can set you miles apart in terms of experience. Even if you're not into that stuff or just don't have imposter syndrome like me, it can really help separate work from things that you love doing. It's kind of why you want to study it in the first place, right? Before you were practicing it professionally, you were just picking up a pen or opening a software and animating, right? Play with models or find a funny audio you like. Not everything has to be a basic textbook pass. It's not uncommon for some people to quickly find animating a chore because they're worried about how professional it looks or how good it is in general. If it was an actual chore, you wouldn't have done it in the first place. I definitely wouldn't have made these kinds of videos in the past. Number 10, dialogue can be very easy with these methods. It seems like dialogue is a bit of an obstacle for some. I'll be taking a dialogue class later in the year, so I'll see how it turns out. What I know now is that it can be easy by either using shape keys for lip sync or even a simple expression sheet. You can go a step further if your rig doesn't have shape keys and make poses for each syllable pronounced. Your lip sync process will go a lot faster if you can at least make a guide of this. You can also make shape keys of these little syllables. I've seen a couple that have them. If your rig has very little, try to fit the pose to these syllables as much as possible, depending on the audio. Let me just give you an example. This shadow rig has no facial keys that I know of are used. I made different poses of syllables using only the controls. It's really simple, honestly. Number 11, consider researching film. This mainly includes writing scripts and screenplays. The thing they call showrunner syndrome is very avoidable if you just practice and research your craft. If you want to create your own stories, which I know you do, maybe put the hell of a boss looking characters down and start with a basic story script. Dive into character dialogue, dynamics, and plot structure. For example, the classic Pixar story structure is good for putting together a pitch. You don't have to study character concepts, but I learned the hard way that people enjoy a pitch more when there are visuals involved. Like a lot of visuals.
Number 12, prioritize your sanity. Whether you like spending the day outside or being cooped up in your house, please have some time to yourself to rest and re-energize instead of non-stop grinding. Your mind does not work at 100% if it's lacking sleep, food, or necessities. Driving yourself to a point of lack for the sake of a video is just not healthy, and you will regret it. Trust me. Not to mention the burnout that comes after that. Try to organize what you create and put your effort into. Maybe even create a schedule for work days when you have assignments to do. It's better than being up until 4 a.m. or being in a godforsaken class building for hours in front of a screen with no windows.
Number 13. Please draw, but at your own pace. At some point, you will have to draw no matter what you're animating. When I first started school, sketching figures and drawing from life was mandatory. It was honestly more of a hassle filling an entire sketchbook in 10 weeks than it was modeling and rigging in Maya. But it's important to understand the anatomy and movements of living things in order to fully animate poses. Even just memorizing certain muscles of the body is a good start. Number 14. There is no absolute way of doing things. There is no textbook telling you what you can and can't animate, except for that Richard Williams book. But don't let limitations of time and technology get in the way of you achieving a certain style. While some things do involve planning and research, it'll be worth it in the end. Soon I'll be sculpting faces all on my own, and Reed's apologizing could be a nightmare, but at least I can say it was an attempt. No one knew 10 years ago that the entire industry would get flipped upside down stylistically with the release of Spider-Verse. I'm sure you also didn't expect indie studios that rose from YouTube to slowly become mainstream either. Of course, please prepare if you want to form a small team of animators, but don't say anything is impossible. Number 15. Take care of your graphics card and keep a hard drive. From the start, you should already know that you're going to need a computer that can handle all your new heavy software. Personally, I learned over time that the graphics card wears out the more you use it. When I first got this laptop, it ran Unreal Engine with no issues. Now my Blender projects slow down real quick. Be mindful to shut down your computers at times and update your graphics card. If you feel like your laptop is about to explode, tone down the heaviness of your project and maybe step back. As for hard drives, it's one of the first words of advice I was given in school. Files can corrupt way too easily, just like that. Whether you keep your projects in a USB on the go or a cloud website, back everything up somewhere. My old files from before 2020 are all gone after that computer failed and stopped working. That's honestly all I have for you guys. It was a lot. I wish I could remember more, but like I said, I rarely take notes. Maybe I'll make a part 2 and look back at everything as a whole. If you like this video, check my other ones and consider subscribing. I have all kinds of art on my website, velvveret.com, and my Instagram. See you guys next time.